All right, post Monday Night Football Krug Show. Dieter's in the house. Niners get a win against the Giants. The trade deadline's tomorrow. What is going down? Will the Niners do anything? How will they handle the quarterback situation? Will Lynch get some help? Do the Niners need to have help to have a chance this year? We'll get into all of that right now, right here. It's the Krug Show. Let's go. Off and running. I was going to say Thursday night. It feels like a Thursday because anytime I see Dieter, I'm thinking, Thursday night.
I messed you up.
But it's a Monday night. We're just getting things rolling. Hope everybody's having a good one. Happy November the 3rd. Happy daylight savings. Do you enjoy it being dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon? It always makes me feel kind of drowsy and kind of like, oh, God.
I mean, as somebody who gets up before dawn every day, it's been interesting waking up with the sun up. So that's fun. The only person who I don't enjoy it because the day is over at 5 and that's when I would like to be going outside and doing things, seeing as I'm in a bunker all day and I'm currently in a bunker. Would have loved to enjoy a 72-degree day in Alameda. No, in the bunker. And then by the time you get out, work gets out. Hey, there's no more sun. So not a fan. Get rid of it. We don't have a functioning government, literally, so I don't expect that to change anytime soon, though.
Griffin says, no sauna for Dieter tonight? No
You
sauna.
wish. Shirt stays on this evening, folks.
Look at you. Look at Griff. Griff was trying to get a little bit of look of one of those shoulders.
That's for the OnlyFans.
Yeah, exactly. That's a Patreon behind, it's kind of like quarterback school with JT O'Sullivan. It's behind a paywall.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
for your safety, not mine.
Exactly. Well, let's get into the trade deadline for just a second. John Lynch has said, hey, you know what? We don't want to do anything we don't want to give away our 2026 draft. We don't want to get anybody that's really a pending free agent that we're not going to have beyond this year. Mm-hmm. I think the 49ers are in one of two modes. I think they're in the mode of, hey, if we can find a useful piece that we think can help us and it costs us some kind of minimal day 3 moving around or whatever, we're interested in that. And we might be interested in the right kind of front 7 piece that would cost more than that, but it would have to be the right piece and we'd have to be, really, really motivated. Other than that, I don't get the sense that the whole thing's going to come together with Trey Hendrickson. There was some rumors this weekend about the Niners also liking Logan Wilson and Cam Taylor-Britt. And the Cam Taylor-Britt thing was believable because I do know that they really wanted Cam Taylor-Britt in the 22 draft. Cincinnati traded into that spot with Buffalo ahead of them. And the Niners were forced to take Drake Jackson. And Cam Taylor-Britt, the shine's kind of off, the bloom's off that rose there. And same with Logan Wilson. So they're not highly coveted people in Cincinnati's world. But I do think the Niners probably still, it seems like when you ask Shanahan about acquisitions, almost the one common denominator phrase is, we liked him in the draft.
Yeah.
And so when they like you in the draft, it's like, they like you, maybe going forward. And I think that's what we've learned about the Niners. So they like Cam Taylor-Britt in the draft. Mm-hmm. And I could see them, making a deal for a player like that, especially if it was with Hendrickson. I think John Lynch is intrigued by Hendrickson because he got burned with Chase Young, and Chase Young didn't play hard, and he knows Hendrickson will play hard. So, and then Logan Wilson the same way. Logan Wilson really is a run and hit linebacker. And is he the greatest linebacker of all time? No, but he's a legitimate play hard NFL caliber linebacker. So I think that's what he's thinking. I think he got burned by that Chase Young thing. So I do think they're looking for a D lineman, but I don't think it necessarily has to be an end. I think they'd prefer an end to a tackle. But if Tavondre Sweat or Quinnen Williams were out there, to me, those are the kinds of guys that would make me bust my budget and say, you know what, I'm going to think outside the box and add those guys because they're difference makers. The only other thing that I'd like to see them add, especially after this game, I am absolutely done with the 49ers handing Christian McCaffrey the ball up 10 in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes left, find somebody else. Go reacquire Elijah Mitchell. Go find Tony Pollard. Go if you don't believe in Garendo, I mean run Garendo. But if you don't believe in Garendo, then go trade Garendo and find another back. I think they need another back to finish with. They can't finish with McCaffrey. They have to finish with somebody else. So that's what I'm looking for. Somebody on the front seven and a running back that you can finish with. And I do think there's a chance that they could be active. I think if I had to bet, I would say they are more likely to be active than not. I could totally see like the underrated pickup I could see being really good for them would be like Michael Clemens from the Jets, who is a little crazy, but you know what? He's there kind of crazy. He plays really hard and he's 6'4", 270. He'd be a perfect edge setter. Mm-hmm. It's not going to cost you anything. And he could have some upside. So there's my thoughts on the trade deadline, Dieter. Give me what you're thinking, what you're seeing, what you're hearing.
They don't have anything to trade because they can't touch their first 3 draft picks with any level of sanity. If they have that, they can't touch their top 100 draft picks coming up because clearly this roster is not complete, even sans the injuries. So you need to maintain those top 3 round picks. And so the only thing that you're really shopping with, because the Bryce Huff deal ties up both your 4th and your 5th rounder, you can't trade any of the compensatory picks you're expected come March. You can't trade those yet, even though you should have 3 4th rounders. You've already traded away the 6th. You traded away your 7th. You traded away your 5th. You don't have anything to trade. So you can trade 2027 stuff.
Right.
That's cool, but you're trading it at a 50% discount. And that's when you get into a pretty tricky scenario if you're the Niners. So I think that they've already spent all their spending money. And I think Keion White was the last bit of capital that they could expend to try to make this team better. And I don't disagree with the idea that there are some players where you would actually consider giving up that 3rd rounder or that 2nd rounder. But there's just not a lot of middle ground players in that regard, right? Like Jalen Phillips of the Dolphins, and he got traded today. Like he would have been one of the very few players where you're like, oh, okay, like I get it, like a 3rd or a 4th round pick. Like there's not a lot of 3rd, 4th round pick guys. It's either 1st and 2nd round guys or 6th and 7th round guys. Because if they were in the middle, they're not really on the market, right? Not in this era of parity in the NFL, and not with this market being as much of a seller's market as it is. So I'm sure that, we can come up with 100 trades, but the fact of the matter is, I think the Niners are closed for business unless someone wants to give them something effectively. If someone wants to give them something and they can get out way ahead, and it's just so obvious that you have to take that deal if made available to you, that the Niners do it, like then that happens. But otherwise, I'm expecting them to maybe touch a 27 5th or 6th, though both, again, that's tied up because of the Sky Moore deal. Maybe something late in 27 and bring in somebody who, again, as you kind of alluded to, already been in the system, or someone they liked a lot and they already imagine what he'd be like on the team. Somebody like an Arden Key, who doesn't move the needle in any way, shape, or form, but is a body and can run what the Niners want. And everything else is kind of fanciful.
Well, here's the thing about it too. There's 2 kinds of trades in the NFL. You just referenced it. There's the Herschel Walker, Deshaun Watson, Micah Parsons trade, where you get like the guy, or a guy who's perceived to be the guy, and you give a ransom of a bevy of assets. And then there's all the other trades in the NFL where the draft picks are valued more than the players, and the returns are always so muted that like even you can't even really have NFL trade discussions like publicly, because the trades that actually come down are like, blah, blah, blah is decent for a 6th. You're like,
it's guys who would get cut under general circumstances. Like that's all the Niners can really buy, guys who might get cut. and
Right.
they're just jumping the line right now. And
I
this is
think you're
because
right.
their roster was crap at the beginning of the season. They spent all of July and August playing roster roulette. They make 2 trades right before cutdown day so that they can get a kick returner and that they can get a backup running back. And this is what I was yelling about. Like, this roster wasn't good enough. Credit to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan for, I suppose, recognizing that and making some moves. But that's the capital that they should be spending at the deadline, not just before the season starts. I suppose you can make the argument, because they're 6-3, that was the right decision, but it precludes them from now making any moves now. And yeah, the Keon White move feels like sort of, again, the last move that they could make, because that was the last bit of reasonable capital that they can throw in. They can't go out and put down a down payment for a new car with monopoly money. There's no IOUs in this. It's just you have to have it. And this is an all-time seller's market, because there are like 14 teams that think that they're contenders. There's like 20 teams that think they're making the playoffs, and every other team sucks so badly they've been in sell mode for weeks, and they got everybody coming to them, to the point where the Cincinnati Bengals, who have one of the worst, if not the worst defense in the NFL, has multiple defensive players that could get picks that, frankly, are well overpaying for him. Like, Trey Hendrickson is a wonderful player. Giving up a first rounder and having to deal with his contract is malpractice for any team to do. Quentin Williams is a wonderful player. Maybe that is the one argument. Like, Tavondre Sweat is on the market because the Titans know they can get more than they reasonably should be able to get for him, and maybe somebody does it. That's just what it is. It's a seller's market, and the Niners don't have anything that the sellers are really going to want.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I do think there are deals to be had. I'll give you the deal that I think, we've been talking Hendrickson. We've been talking, a lot of people have been talking about Jermaine Johnson, from the Jets. I'll give you the trade that I think helps them the most, that I could see them actually making, because, as you said, they don't have lots to trade. I could see them making a trade tomorrow with Tennessee for Arden Key and Sam Womack.
Oh,
it's so on brand for them. One, you bring back, they treat their team almost like a street gang. It's like, if you if you've been here before, you're kind of like a made man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've been in our room. Oh, you're one of us.
Yeah, you couldn't possibly learn a new system. No, I mean, Kyle's like that. We talked about that a bunch with like the offensive line and stuff. They value familiarity, even if there's a reason that you're no longer on their team anymore. So I could see that, because Key has got a little bit of a quad, and he's not really playing. He's been inactive. He's not going to. Tennessee's going nowhere. Right.
And he is exactly the piece that you would want if you didn't have Mikael Williams, because he's exactly what Mikael Williams was. Right? He's a interior, outside inside guy. In a lot of ways, they're very similar. I mean, they're not the same guy, but in a similar category. If they were,
they play the same position effectively. Yeah.
If they were, if you bought them at a supermarket, they'd be on the same aisle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Arden Key is more like Aldi Key comparatively, but that's
he's not as good as Mikael's better than Arden Key, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and then Womack is a guy that I think they do kind of rue the day they let him out, and yet he's not in Tennessee anymore. He's not in Indianapolis anymore, and now he's in Tennessee. So obviously it's not like he's an all-world player, but he is a guy that does know their system, and they know him, and he knows them. That to me. You trade nothing really, but you pick up Key and Womack for some pick, whatever, 7th for a 6th, or some nominal cost, some real low cost Key and Womack, and you add 2 players, one up front, one on the back end, and you cross your fingers that is enough with what you've already done and who you got coming back to get you going wherever you want to go. But I think it's unrealistic, and I also don't think it's the right time. I don't think it's the right time for the 49ers to make another big investment in an individual player like they did with Lance, like they did with Hargrave.
Right.
You can't do that every year. You cannot. It's the fastest way to gut your franchise. And so I don't see them going all in for Trey Hendrickson.
No.
Especially since he's a free agent. And I definitely don't think they're going to kowtow to the Bengals' demand of a first. But
Never.
Key and Womack, that seems very on brand.
I don't think that the Niners are as ardent, pardon the slight pun there, as me when it comes to not touching the first, second, and third. I think that if, the Bengals were out here being like, yeah, you can have Hendrickson for a third, the Niners would be giving up the third. But again, it's just that's not a realistic expectation. This isn't Madden. You can't force through trades. And to your point, they have $281 million against the cap for next year. So they're $38 million under as it stands today. They'll roll over a tremendous amount of money, but that's still at a discount. So they're going to have some cap issues, nothing crazy, nothing they can't handle, but it's going to be something they have to manage going into next year. The year after that, they're already over the cap. They're already over the 2027 salary cap. Now, that cap could be higher. And again, I'm not like super worried about it, but this is not a team that can just remove the trade value and what you'd have to give up in assets to get a guy like Trey Hendrickson. This is not a team that can afford another $30-something million contract, like as it stands today. If you'd have to treat it like
that's
a basketball
the issue,
trade,
don't you think?
Entirely.
It's not about the draft compensation or the fit or anything.
You've
I
already
think,
used all your draft compensation. I guess you can go into next year, but I don't know.
It may be. This is a team that's spent second-round picks on Dante Pettis and Drake Jackson.
Yeah, that's bad policy, though, to be like, oh, we suck at this. Let's not have draft picks anymore.
Well, it worked for Les Snead, though.
Until
them picks.
And then it died, and then they rebuilt the entire team through draft picks.
They stared at their Super Bowl ring.
Right, exactly. But for the Niners, you can say, oh, well, again, how did they end up in a situation where they won 6 games last year? They kept chasing after that grand elixir, which is fair, and you want to be aggressive in that regard. But they spent. They never got over the hump, and now they're trying to do their reset. The last thing you want to do for a team, and I know that people get pissed at me for saying this, but I've heard it from too many damn people to not believe it to be true. For a team that's focused on next year more than this year, and that's easy to say for me and very difficult for them to say when they're in the belly of the beast, but for a team that is taking, let's just say, a more big picture view of things, to then completely gut yourself for the 2026 draft, which I would argue they've already sort of done, but to eviscerate it beyond the point of being able to do anything effective moving forward. To do that would just be downright malpractice because, again, this team it does not have all of the players in place. It does not have this next core in place. They're closer than they have been. They're closer because of the 25 draft. They're closer because of the 24 draft. But those didn't answer all the questions, and they're not going to spend money to solve those problems. So how are they going to have to get the kind of players that can create the next Super Bowl core? They're going to have to draft them, and they're going to have to nail what 5-6 draft picks they have left because that's all they have left. So wait a
second. I've got their draft picks in front of me actually. This is what they have for this year as far as draft picks. They have their first, their second, their third.
Correct.
And then they have 4 picks in the fourth. They don't have their fifth. They don't have their fifth or sixth, but they do have a seventh. So they're missing their fifth and their sixth.
And they don't have the seventh. Three of those 4.
They got the seventh. They got the seventh because the 7th round pick that they have right now is from New England that they traded their 6th to get.
That is entirely contingent on if Keon White plays, I believe, 8 games. As it stands, they don't have a 7th round pick because they traded it last year for Khalil Davis, if you remember. It says here they do. It says here, and this was Mayoka put this out. He said, pick acquired with Keon White from New England for the 6th round pick. It is.
So it's a possibility.
As is the 4th and the 5th, which it depends on how much Bryce Huff plays and his production on if it is a 4th or a 5th that goes back to Philadelphia. Regardless, you can't trade either of them because you might need one of them.
But you still have 3 4th-round picks.
I'm just saying. Well, you have 3 4th-round picks, but those haven't been awarded yet. And
right, but they're coming. They're part of the compensatory formula.
People they feel very good about having 3 4th-round picks, but that's a 1st, a 2nd, a 3rd. So there's your top 100, and then you should have 3 comp picks as it stands, and 1 additional pick. You should either have another 4th or your 5th on that. Like, that's a pretty small draft class. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I don't disagree with any of the trades that they've made, save for the Khalil Davis one. That one was hilarious in the moment. It looks even stupider today. But it's a 7th. It shouldn't matter. It kind of matters now that you don't have any damn draft picks, but whatever. It's a 7th. Like, what were you really going to do with that one?
But you also you suddenly have Mac Jones.
Yes.
So if you wanted to trade Mac Jones, there's more draft capital coming there. And aren't you going to lose Robert Saleh potentially as a head coach? So there could be some.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? But I mean, no. if you do, wouldn't you be in line?
That would be then for the next year. You don't get that comp pick immediately.
Right. But I mean, I'm just saying more picks are coming there.
There'll always be more picks.
But also, they also have some minority candidates that are interviewing for GM jobs most likely this year, including Josh Williams.
But if they didn't get it, then it doesn't matter. That's a 27 thing. Anything that's happening now is a 27.
But I mean, they had 10 picks this year or 11 picks. They have 8 right now. The way this pans out, and if they wanted to move one of those 4th-round picks,
they have 7.
7. Okay, they want to move one of those 4th-round picks for multiple picks in the 5th, 6th, and 7th.
They cannot move the 4th-round pick until they're awarded in March, and you can't trade the 4th-round pick that they own because of Huff.
But I'm saying when they're on the clock in the draft in the 4th round, they could always move that back for picks in later rounds. I'm just saying,
sure, but they don't have that a tremendous amount of value. You're not getting anything.
But you still have. I mean, most people would say, if their draft's been gutted, they don't have a day 1 or day 2 pick. They have a full complement of their day 1 and day 2 picks. And they have Mac Jones, who they could trade if he asks to be traded. And right now, it looks like you could probably get a day 2 pick. So maybe. We'll see. I mean, I know what you're saying. There's not an endless amount of draft capital, but they're not naked. I mean, heck, the Alex Smith draft, they had 3 draft picks in the entire draft. So, I mean, and some teams do trade. The Niners have resisted, and they like their draft. I think you're right though. As far as I don't think they're moving. I don't think they have a lot of 26 draft capital to move. And if the trade deadline is all about 26 draft capital, they're going to be sitting it out. That's why I'm saying, Michael Clemens, Arden Key, Sam Womack. I think that's. If you're getting up tomorrow morning thinking Quinnen Williams, Tavondre Sweat, Trey Hendrickson, Kayvon Thibodeau, I would say you're going to be disappointed. But if you get up in the morning thinking Samuel Womack, Arden Key, or Michael Clemens, or bottom tier guys that you can get for nothing, I think they're highly likely to do something before 1 o'clock Pacific. We'll see.
The other aspect of this is that the only thing that they can trade right now with some level of clarity or impunity is 27 draft picks. And they've already lost 6. They'll get back a 7th for Sky Moore. That's fine. But that is effectively paying for something with a credit card because it's coming at a 50% interest rate. So I have no problem. Tavondre Sweat's a wonderful player. And he can help this team now and next year and beyond. I would have zero problem with that. But do you want to pay the premium? Because if he's worth a 2nd rounder in 26, and it's just me guessing, I don't know, then you'd have to be paying for a 27 first, and that sounds ridiculous. So the idea of an Arden Key, and I agree with you. I think that's the kind of shopping they'd be doing. They'd be at Aldi. But you're probably buying all that stuff on the credit card and you don't pay your bill at the end of every month. So an Arden Key who should cost you a 7th is probably going to cost you a 27 5th because of just how inflation on these draft picks works. And this is, that's a problem.
It's all about what kind of relationships does Lynch have around the league? What kind of deals can he make? But you're right. And these
there are going to be other teams calling on Arden Key. As weird as that sounds.
Oh, no, absolutely. I'm sure there are. Yeah. But these things are also not linear. It's like, these NFL deals, it's like you don't get the feeling they're like you know, like I'll take less from you than I'll take from him. I'll take more from him than
Right.
I'll take from you. It's like it's about there are other factors beyond just the players. The ask is sometimes different. Sometimes teams want to move them out of the division. Sometimes they want to move them out of a conference. Sometimes they want to. I mean, I hate to say this, it's pretty obvious when you look at the stories connected to NFL trades. There are not a lot of NFL trades, so it's easy to keep track of these things. When you see these NFL trades, a lot of times when you go in and read the stories, there's like quotes in there where it's real obvious that it wasn't like open to the entire league. It was like open to like two teams, or like,
They're a lot like baseball trades.
Or like, James Gladstone was with the Rams and he really liked this guy with the Rams. And so the Rams traded him his guy, and it's like, what? What about nobody else wanted that guy? No, but Gladstone drafted him and he liked him and believed in him. And teams have a way of like kind of allowing this. I don't know why. It is kind of bizarre, but NFL trades, like, if A then B, then B, then C, then A is better. It's like, no, it's literally case by case and situation by situation. And you will see some deals that you're like, why did they trade that guy for just that? And sometimes it's cap relief. Sometimes it's attitude. Sometimes, I mean, this is a very volatile sport. Sometimes the player told his position coach to F right off.
Right.
And we have to get him out of the building because he told blah, blah, blah to F right off. And, we got this coach. We love the coach, and he's got a 3-year contract, and he's not, it's oil and water. We had to move one of them, so there are reasons that guys move. Let me ask you one other before we move off of the trade deadline. Jauan Jennings. What do you make of the smoke around Jauan Jennings? And then Jennings, who seems unhappy at times, like the other day, just being very weird and being like, I love everybody here. I love everybody. I love Kittle and I love Mac 10 and I just love this team and I love. It just came across as just so disingenuous. And it's like, not that he doesn't love his team, but I think he understands that there's been a lot of people saying that he's unhappy. Right. And so he comes out with the happiest quote I think I've ever heard from him. What do you make of this? Are the Niners, do you think, split on whether or not to keep JJ? Do you think if they had lost yesterday, maybe they would have moved JJ? Or what do you make of the talk that Jauan Jennings could be traded when Lynch has stated he's like my favorite player, and Shanahan was asked about it, and he's like, hey, I see him here the rest of the year. Other people say don't buy that. There's these guys who are connected with all these rumors. They hear his name and they throw his name out there for a reason.
Right.
What do you make of it? What do you think's going on behind the scenes?
I think the Niners are very open to moving Jauan Jennings because they're going to have a logjam. In theory, I don't know if Ricky Pearsall's ever playing this season. I don't know if Brandon Aiyuk's playing this season. But in theory,
remember Jacob Cowing?
Technically, he's close to coming back. I remember seeing that quote. I was actually going through all the IR stuff today, and there was a quote from Kyle, I think 3 weeks ago, saying he's close, which that's fun.
There was a Barrows story, by the way, where Barrows says that that he talked to Cowing and that Cowing told him that he was close. Yeah, here it is. Matt Barrows said, Jacob Cowing told me the other day he's had 4 hamstring injuries since the summer. So every time he starts to come back and gets close to returning and starts hitting Jacob Cowing speeds, the injury occurs again.
Sure. I mean, that sucks for him, legitimately. But I don't think the Niners are terribly concerned. I think that
fourth round pick
time as he needs. Well, they're not playing their current 3rd round pick. Their 3rd round pick from the year before that is not playable. They don't seem to have any problem admitting they were wrong with draft picks, which I suppose is a credit to them when they are wrong, or maybe just early. Do I remember Jacob Cowing? To answer your question, simply no. What has he ever done? How can I remember something that has never been? But I get it. When it comes to Jennings, I don't think that they're opposed to the concept of moving him. I think if someone calls about Jauan Jennings, they're not going to hang up on him and be like, no, I can't believe I'm offended you would even ask about Jauan Jennings. Of course, he's a free agent at the end of the year. They're not going to pay him. So getting something for him now is key. Now, here's the rub on all of this. No team, I would argue, in the NFL is more obsessed with compensatory picks than the San Francisco 49ers. They think about it and they talk about it a lot. It is fundamental to their team building strategy in many ways. And I don't think that they could possibly get something that would be better than the comp pick that they're expecting to get from Jauan Jennings once he hits the free agent market, because he'll be able to make the case that actually I'm healthy now. You should pay me like I'm the guy coming out of the 24 season, out of the 23 season, not the guy from the 25 season. And he'll probably get someone to pay that money because he's a tone setter. He can block. And if my tape study of the NFL is indicative at all, 90% of wide receivers in the NFL don't even bother to block. So Jauan Jennings will be manna from heaven for a more physically minded offensive head coach. So I think that he'll actually get a decent contract this offseason, not from San Francisco, but from some other team. And in that, the Niners will get themselves a pretty nice comp pick. So I think they're thinking that they're going to get a fourth or a third as a comp pick for him, which means that they'd have to get a third or a second for him. And no one's giving up a third or a second for a Jauan Jennings in the first place, much less one that has reportedly, I think this report is stemming from him, 5 broken ribs, 2 ankles, and apparently a shoulder now, if the CBS broadcast was to believe. So, yeah, they'd trade him, but no one's going to hit their price, and I think they'll just ride it out. But, what do I make of Jennings and his quotes? Jauan Jennings is a weird dude, man. I don't make anything of really anything that he's said because I don't operate on the same wavelength as him. And you know what? That's probably a credit to him.
We got a comment in here that makes me laugh. We got this one from JM. He says, I love that Dieter doesn't sugarcoat anything. Meanwhile, Krug is talking about getting Purdy healthy for a Super Bowl. Ha.
Would you bring him back if he sits out all the way to the NFC Championship game? Would you bring him back for the Super Bowl that extra week? Is that the difference?
Well, my whole thing is just that I don't really think much of the NFC teams this year. I watch a lot of football, and Detroit lost to Minnesota. Green Bay lost to Carolina.
Yep.
The Green Bay just lost Tucker Kraft for the year. And then across the league, I mean, guys are going down that change these teams. I mean, Ed Oliver went down with Buffalo the other day.
Yep. He's
going to be gone for a long time. Obviously, they're not an NFC team, but there's just a lot. I don't see like Tampa's gutted and Philly, is pretty good. Detroit, offensive line is not what it was. Goff was sacked 5 times yesterday. They don't have a backup. I mean, I just see every team and see like how they can be good and how they couldn't be good. And I just think the 49ers, because of Kyle, because of the good coaching they have with Saleh, because they got a couple quarterbacks who can process, because they've got some guys who have experience, at least Purdy's got Super Bowl experience.
Yep.
I think they could potentially win some games in the playoffs, but
sure,
they're gonna have to get help tomorrow. I mean, I think that's a big part of it. I don't think they can do this without help tomorrow. I'm trying to wrap up the trade part of this show, but I mean, that's really the bottom line on the thing. They
don't have enough dudes.
The 49ers can go to the Super Bowl. I do think they've got the right coach. I do think they've got quarterbacks who can get them through the playoffs, but they got to get you have a bunch of young DBs that have talent. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to move the quarterback off the spot, and you have to be able to have a healthy Christian McCaffrey. So to me, I would try to find, somebody, a defensive lineman or two that I thought could move the guy off the spot. If not, I'm looking at practice squad poaching. K'Mon Rucker, Baltimore, Mohamed Kamara, Tampa Bay. I mean, I'm in that aisle on Wednesday if I don't get anything done trade wise Tuesday, and then I also need a back because I can't run McCaffrey into the ground in the fourth quarter of all these games in the second half of the year and then ask him to carry us through the playoffs.
What about B-Rob? What's the matter with B-Rob? He looked good the last game.
B-Rob would be great, but I'm just saying they have B-Rob and they have Garendo active every week.
Yeah,
and I think they have to find somebody else. I mean, there are other backs out there, and you can get them for nothing. And I would do that. I mean, I would go find. In fact, you know what I would do if I were the Niners? I would go find another back that also is in Garendo's shoes. I'll give you an idea. Roschon Johnson. some other back that is in another system, and that he's stagnated in their system, and this guy's stagnated in the Niners system, and I would try to flip him because I don't believe in Garendo anymore, but he's too athletic and too big and fast to just give up on. But I would look for another back who I could finish games with. In fact, if I could get Elijah Mitchell back, I'd do it.
Elijah Mitchell even play football anymore?
I know. That's why he should be totally gettable. And then I want a D lineman that can move the quarterback because I got to have that D lineman. Otherwise, my young DBs none of them are going to develop the way I want them to develop because they're all, lose confidence. So somebody who can move the quarterback and somebody who can run the ball in the fourth quarter. And I'm okay if they don't, trade a lot of draft capital. I don't need them to trade their number one pick. But to me, the tackles, if I could get a Quinnen Williams, if I could get a Tavondre Sweat, I might just do that and just keep building. This might be a decent year to just build continue building your defensive line. Okay, a couple things. Let's hit our sleeper. Let's do a sleeper lineup right here. 49er Football on the Krug Show is presented by Sleeper, fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chat, season-long leagues, and, of course, sleeper picks for daily fantasy, where you choose 2 to 8 players pregame or live and pick more or less on their stat projections. And if you're new to it, use promo code Larry, Larry, and you'll get a 100% deposit match up to $100 on your first deposit. And now Sleeper has a brand new offer. They're giving out $20 for free to first-time users. No deposit required. And on top of that, first-time users also receive a 100% deposit match up to $100. So the link is right there in the description. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, let's take a look at the Thursday nighter. And who do we got in the Thursday night game this week?
Raiders-Broncos.
Raiders-Broncos. Let's take a look at Cortland Sutton.
Sure.
I like the way Sutton's playing recently.
It's good for a tutty every game.
There we go. Why don't we go there? We'll go touchdown, half a touchdown.
Yeah, that sounds like a good play to me. What can we get on Bo Nix? What kind of lines can we get on Bo Nix?
Bo Nix. 1.5 passing touchdowns, 30.5 rush yards.
I do like
an interception.
I do like that over 249.5 pass and rush yards there.
Okay.
He had a game against last week was rough. He had a $173, completed fewer than 50% of his passes. It was also Houston. And the weeks before that, 247 against Dallas, 279 against the Giants, and that doesn't even include 48 yards rushing against the Giants. This feels a lot closer to the New York Giants than it does to the Houston Texans, which is about the understatement of the decade. So 249, good line, but I'd play more.
Okay, let's go there. How about J.K. Dobbins?
Sure.
Dobbins is kind of, I think, one of the more underrated guys. I like him to score a touchdown. I think he's likely to score a touchdown. So let's go Dobbins there. Dobbins
he hasn't
really
scored
good.
One since the 5th of October, for what it's worth.
Okay, so you could argue he's due.
Yeah,
he gets the ball an awful lot. That's for sure.
Yeah, 15 carries pretty much consistently over the last 4 weeks. 14, 14, 15, 15. But it's the Raiders, so expect more.
They're a terrible defense against the run. What else do we have there? Genty, maybe go under on Genty, or maybe Bowers. What do you think of over on Bowers? Bowers looked pretty good this week.
I would like to see what the Bowers line is. I'd imagine that they're going to want a hell of a premium after that
20 point. Is that 20.5? What is that? Is that
longest reception?
Oh, longest reception. What do you think of 6 receptions?
Yeah, I think that's a necessity for the Raiders.
I mean,
it's tough. I'll say this though, it's going to be tough. He's unbelievable. I guess maybe don't overthink it. They like to run a 4 or 5 man front out of a 3-4 defense. I don't think Alex Singleton can cover him. So let's go with that.
All right, let's see what we got there. 4 for 4. Sutton, Nix, Dobbins, and Bowers.
I know.
$5 to win $54.50. Ooh, I like that. I like it. Let's do it. Big thanks to Sleeper. Remember, use code Larry for 100% deposit match up to $100. Links right in the description. Terms and conditions apply. Help support the show and get you rolling on the #1 sports app, and it's a whole lot of fun. Sleeper. Thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, let's get into a couple things from this game.
Sure.
One of the things that kind of perplexed me is that it seemed like the reaction to the game, there's an awful lot of people, and I don't know if it was just one person wrote it and everybody started repeating it. There's a lot of that kind of thing that goes on in the media. But a lot of people were like, hey, the really good special teams game for the Niners.
I mean, it kind of was.
Okay, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, Eddie Pinheiro hit a couple field goals. He's 19 for 19.
Yeah. Sure. Good punts.
The punts.
Saran Neal looked great as a gunner.
Yeah, I mean, Luke Farrell, I thought was terrific. Luke Farrell made
two really nice tackles.
Yeah, he made a couple really nice coverage tackles, and those are, those are big.
It was a boring ass game if we're like, wow, special teams, and it's not an obvious special teams game.
Okay, but here was a moment in special teams in this game that this
never
is
even dawned on me.
Okay, so you listen to this one. This was unbelievable. 2:15 left in the first quarter.
Okay.
It's a punt. New York punted. Sky Moore is standing on his 13-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of just fair catching it and having the Niners take over at the 13, he called for the fair catch. Call for the fair catch on the 13-yard line and catch it. Okay? Call for the fair catch and catch it, or get the heck away from it. What did he do? He lets it hit 3 feet away from him, and it wildly bounced. Now, it didn't hit him, but it easily could have hit him, and it would have been a turnover deep in Niners territory. And instead, it starts rolling towards the end zone, but it lands at the 13-yard line. And so it's got 13 yards to roll, and it luckily hits the left front corner of the end zone for a touchback. But it easily could have been downed inside the 5. And it's like, dude, you've got 2 bad things that can happen and 1 good thing that can happen. The only good thing is that you fair catch it and you've got the ball at the 13-yard line. It's not ideal, but that's your choice. If it drops, you got to get away from it. He didn't. He lucked out. It didn't touch him. And then they can easily down it from the 13 inside the 5, inside the 1. The Giants were so bad that they couldn't actually execute it.
Yeah. I mean, it did rock it. It's a heavy bounce.
But once again, it's like,
luck.
This is the Niners special teams unit. It's like, this guy is tough as heck, and he's got some speed, and he's got some experience. It's not like he doesn't have experience, and yet he made 2 crucial mistakes. Now, it didn't burn him, so nobody's talking about it, but we very easily could be talking about that because he let the ball land literally 3 feet away from him while he was standing right there. You either have to catch it or get away from it. He did neither, and he lucked out twice. I mean, this is the Niners on special teams are just so iffy week to week. I mean, this is the guy that has the experience. And still, I mean, Eddie Pinheiro, awesome. Morstead's been fine. I'm sure the special teams coordinator is a good coach. There's indications that there's going to be improvement compared to how bad they've been. But in the middle of this game, what everybody's touting as a great special teams game, was that massive, undeniable blunder. And it's like nobody said anything about it at all. Just like, great day for special teams. It's like, okay, I guess.
I mean, you have to find something to compliment other than McCaffrey good, Jones efficient, because the defense kind of sucked.
The first series was absolutely horrible.
Oh, it's a terrible game plan too. Luckily, they adjusted. It's like they hadn't watched any film, and then luckily in the second series, they're like, "Oh, that's what he's doing," and they kind of stopped that from that point on.
What did you like about the game plan?
Well, okay, you watch the Giants, and I went through every one of Jackson Dart's dropbacks twice, just trying to get a read on the kid and to see what had changed from Ole Miss, because I was just not a fan of his tape at Ole Miss, mainly because I would actually watch a lot of Ole Miss games live. And so instead of cut-ups, I had contextual understanding of circumstance and situation. And this kid was a disaster artist. And he's the reason why Ole Miss didn't make the playoff, because just watch his game against Kentucky last year. I mean, just
he had great receivers at Ole Miss.
he had nothing but dudes. That was the best team money could buy. And he put 3 losses on their docket almost single-handedly. And yeah, you just don't forget stuff like that. Not that I give a damn if Ole Miss makes it or not, but like ultimately it was just kind of incredible to watch it. Of course, then you see what happens in that game against the Broncos, and it didn't surprise me in the least bit. But I went back and I'm like, okay, listen, people are talking about the New York media they got a crush on Jackson Dart. There's something way off there emotionally, and that's for them to figure out in due time. But you got to watch it. So I go back and I watch it all, and I realize, oh, they're just doing the Kyler Murray Arizona Cardinals offense, which is just look down at the safety, convince the safety that you're going to throw it his way, and then dart your eyes over to the right, pun intended, and throw it to the flat. And they just ran that play repeatedly. That's the only play they have. Every now and again, they might mix in a dig route. That's it. That's all they run. And so for Robert Saleh to come out and not run cover 2 and to keep running quarters where you have your guys just backpedaling and leaving the flat wide open, and to have no linebacker there to cover it. So what are we doing here? What are you doing here? And again, luckily they figured out like, oh, okay, they're not actually changing up their offense at all. And from the second series on, it was a lot more man on the outside, and D. Winters was an absolute menace, the best possible way in covering the flats. So yeah, not a great start, but they redeemed themselves on the second drive onwards. And then again, Diamondor Lenore decided, why don't the Giants get 2 free touchdowns? Because effectively that's what happened.
The coverage on the first drive. I mean, first he had a penalty. You had an offsides penalty that gave them a first down.
Yeah.
The tackling was very poor. The tackling just the last couple games without Warner, the tackling has just looked so bad, especially early in this game. It was like, guys are in the backfield and the defensive tackles have gotten a little penetration, but nobody's wrapping. And D. Winters really struggles to wrap. He just doesn't wrap.
He tackles with his shoulder. Yeah,
he's a hitter, but he's not a tackler. They just didn't do anything well, and the coverage was super soft. Then that second series, D had the real good play on second down. Stout had the real good play to get off the field on third down, and they looked like they were bringing a lot more juice, a lot more energy to the party. But that first defensive series, I mean, Tracy and Singletary were going for 5 yards a pop.
Yeah.
On third down, on that one third down, the Niners D-line lost contain on Dart on 3rd and 5, and they let him run 7 yards for a first down, and he went untouched. I mean, it was like, You got to be kidding me. Dart, though, took some of the worst hits, not just the Cleve Farrell hit.
Oh,
he took a bunch of hits. He's too tough for his own good.
Yeah, I don't know how tough he is. That might just be stupidity, to be honest.
It might be. Might be.
I was telling people, there was a lot of buzz about him and Scatabo, and it's like, man, yeah, they are fun to watch. Enjoy it now. I told people, enjoy it now. And obviously you don't wish injury upon anybody, and I don't revel in the fact that Scatabo's out or whatever, but when Jackson Dart plays as if he's Cam Newton, but is 30 pounds lighter and 4 inches shorter, or Josh Allen, that's not going to end well for him. It's just not. I know the NFL is lighter and faster, but look at these smaller quarterbacks. Look at how Kyler Murray has devolved into nothing over his career. Look at how Russell Wilson fell off.
The guy Brissett outplayed him tonight.
Totally.
They won because
they shadow benched
Brissett.
They shadow benched the quarterback, which I could have told you because I heard the owner scoffing with me in the press box when they played the Cardinals, because I wouldn't shut the fuck up about how much I hated watching Kyler Murray play quarterback. And who's behind me but the owner of the Cardinals, somewhat agreeing with me, non-verbally, of course. So the fact that he's been shadow benched because he could have played. I mean, by all accounts, he could have played. He was supposed to do his press conference on Thursday. They decided, nah, actually, no. Let's keep him out another week. Let's make sure he gets really healthy. Well, they're not going to put him back in now. Not after they won. Not after Brissett looks really good.
I was going to say, I'm getting ready to see Brissett when the Niners play the Cardinals.
I think that the Niners are hoping they get Kyler Murray at this point because Kyler Murray is a terrible quarterback. He was once interesting and provided something, and now it's just difficult to watch, and you're wondering if the guy should have chose baseball.
He's got great physical ability, great stop and start. He's hard to corral, but yeah, I mean, it's,
he's Ja Morant. He can't do the things that are necessary in the modern game, and the things that he can do, he's not physically built to do repeatedly. So, Ja Morant, there was 2-3 years there where everyone thought Ja Morant was going to be everything and is going to, he got a Nike signature shoe. And now Ja Morant is, anyone can have him on the cheap. Memphis can't get rid of this guy fast enough. They just suspended him the other night. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that he is unwilling to accept the fact that he is not as athletic as he once was, and henceforth really doesn't have that much to offer the Memphis Grizzlies or anybody else. And it's kind of taking it out because he's supposed to be the star, but he's not a star anymore. This is the same thing with Kyler. Now, I will say Kyler is handling it with a lot more class, but Kyler is supposed to be the star, supposed to be the franchise quarterback, but the things that made him pass as one of those, he can't do anymore, either because it's between his ears or physically he can't get to those points anymore because it was always a very thin line for a very thin player. So, this is why, listen, when people bring up the long-term challenges of a guy like Brock Purdy, I'm a little bit more open to it on the basis of this is a brutal game and you want to have a little bit of meat on your bones to withstand it. A guy like Drew Brees can get away with it. Maybe that's what Brock has to turn himself into, and that's easier said than done, to be sure. But, Jackson Dart, again, running around. Jackson Dart is a big enough quarterback. But him running around as if he's the biggest quarterback is a recipe for disaster for him. But, that's for the next head coach of the Giants to figure out because that was one of the most poorly coached games on all sides of the ball I've seen played this year. And I've watched a couple Raiders games. So, Giants, what a disaster. Thank God the Niners won. Otherwise, we'd be having a very different conversation today.
I saw the odds for Ja Morant's next team, and the Sacramento Kings are favored.
Oh,
so he better really be careful, or he's going to wind up at he's going to wind up on, Arden and Howe and Arden sitting there going, what am I doing here?
He's
all right.
So
couple other thoughts. I thought the key, what'd you think of that moment on the first drive? Niners get to 3rd and 7.
Yeah.
Jones goes to JJ for 6 yards
before the sticks, to be sure.
Yeah, with 9:01 left in the first quarter, Niners got to 4th and 1 from their own 41-yard line. Kyle sent out the punt unit late. There was 21 seconds on the play clock, then called a timeout.
Yeah.
Then opted to go for it instead. And when I saw it, it was like less than a half yard. It was like, oh my God, if they hadn't gone for it. They went with Jones on the quarterback sneak, and I think he got the fullback push from Juice.
Yep.
And it was amazing. It was quite the momentum shift. Then he hooks up with Jordan Watkins for 19 against Banks. CMC had a 17-yard run to the 12. Jones threw to a wide open CMC for the touchdown to it looked like a busted play to make it 7-7.
It was a pick
What did you think of Kyle's decision there? To me, if there's one thing about Kyle Shanahan's handling of the game, I'd like to see him, a little bit less old school and a little bit more new school. A little bit less, my dad did this, I've always done this. A little bit more, the analytics crowd's doing this, and I'm begrudgingly following in line. I think across the sport, I think it's important that teams go for it more on 4th down. I think possession is more important than anything, and I think teams, they won't take a minimal chance early in the game, but they'll take a monumental chance at other parts in the game. And it's like, why not take a minimal chance early in the game? Why not? You get the rest of the game to overcome it if you make the wrong decision. So I don't like punting on 4th and less than 5, in from the 40 to the 40, I'd rather just go for it. And if I give my defense a short field, we're it's about chunk yard plays anyway. So I'm not playing the field position game. I'll do it in a super low scoring game in a certain scenario, but I think going for it on 4th down is something I want to see more from Kyle, and I'm glad that he did. And I thought, believe it or not, I thought that was a huge point in the game. Now I know people don't think so, but if you fall behind 14-0 to this Giants D line, you've got problems.
Right.
And Shanahan seemed very, very aware that the game was hanging in the balance right there, even though it was the first quarter and he was only down 7-0. He did not want to give the ball. At that point, his defense looked so bad on that first drive, he didn't know what he was going to get out of his defense. And the last thing you wanted to do was just hand the ball right back to New York, because what if they had treated the Niner defense the way they did in the first drive, and all of a sudden it's 14-0. You fall into a 14-0 hole against those pass rushers, you got problems. So I thought it was a significant play in the momentum of the game, especially looking back at how the game unfolded from there. But what'd you think of the way Shanahan kind of went through that, where he's sending out the punt unit, and he's going for it.
Well, he was going to go for it originally.
Right.
And Harlan was kind of losing his shit, being like, oh, they're going, no hesitation. And then there was hesitation. And then there was a timeout. And then they go, oh, yeah, we should probably do this. I will say this about Kyle. I know that that's one of these things that when we cover one team and we watch one team and see all of their snaps week by week, we get a little bit inoculated to what happens in the other situations around the league. Kyle, statistically, I mean, you speak about the analytics community. Kyle is almost perfect when it comes to analytical, should he go for it or not. That's a discovery of the last 2 years for Kyle. Before that, he was not. But this year, they're about league average. A lot of that has to do with, in terms of how many 4th down attempts they have, how many they go for. They're about league average across the board there. A lot of that has to do with just how much 4th down is. There's a lot of teams that the Jets lead the NFL in 4th down attempts. Why do you think that is? Well, mainly because they get their ass kicked week after week, and late in the game they got to go for it on 4th down once or twice just to make something happen. Next team with the most 4th down attempts, Cleveland. Next team, Carolina. Next team, Atlanta. I'm seeing a trend here. So when we talk about situations where, I don't know if this thing is still in existence, like the 4th down bot says that they should go for it, Kyle has been almost impeccable for the last 2.5 years. And that was absolutely a situation where you go for it. And it took him a little bit to get to it, but the ends justify the means. And I'm with you. I feel like that was a turning point in the game. That Watkins catch in particular, because they were behind the sticks following a penalty, like that was a big moment in the game. And credit to the Niners for being so ruthlessly efficient from that point on that it didn't really feel that big, and we kind of had to reverse engineer meaning into it. But in that moment, I'm with you, because the lesson was learned from the week before. I thought they ran the ball well against the Houston Texans. They only ran it 8-9 times, though, because they were down 13-0 before they had 6 snaps. So, 4. So Kyle was acutely aware of game script and not falling behind early. But yeah, his dad was in his ear a little bit there, not literally, but spiritually being like, you should punt this. And good on him for fighting those urges. We all have demons in our lives we have to fight, and Kyle Shanahan's is what would my dad do? And he's growing into his own. I think this kid's growing up right before our eyes. He's only 49 years old.
Couple thoughts. There's a number of interesting angles on this thing. One, I mean, it's amazing what Eddie Piñeiro's become. I mean, 19 for 19 on field goals.
He's always been this baby. He did become. Yeah, no,
it's amazing. I mean,
luckiest move of the year. I mean, just
lucky, so lucky.
Lucky.
No one knows. The Mac Jones was pretty freaking lucky too, considering
that was lucky. But like, they actually have somewhat of a track record there, where you could argue, like, yeah, they know what they're doing. I mean, Brandon Allen might be an argument against that, but like, Sam Darnold is in the MVP conversation. His career got on track because of a year spent with Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan. Like they've done pretty well in that regard, and teams view them that way. They have no idea what they're doing at kicker. Now, mind you, about 90% of teams in the NFL have no idea what they're doing at kicker, but they literally sorted by who's the most accurate kicker, brought that guy in, and he's like, oh yeah, I kick 55-yard field goals now too. And they're like, oh, awesome. Hopefully we never have to talk again. And they haven't had to talk since. It's been great for Kyle. It's his favorite kicker ever.
Oh, it's amazing. The guy's absolutely amazing. Nice move by Mac Jones to sub himself out of the game for Adrian Martinez.
Yeah.
And he said some nice things about Martinez. I think the one thing that isn't BS about the whole thing is I do think that they have a great quarterback room because you got a good mix, right? You got four guys that are all really young at the same time. So they're contemporaries of one another. And I think you got some humility with Brock, but obviously a lot of money. You got a kind of smart ass guy in Jones. You got kind of the road less traveled guy in Martinez, who's coming out of the UFL. And then, you got Curtis Rourke, who's coming off a nice career. He's a Canadian kid who came out of a nice career at Indiana and Ohio. And so I just think they have a good room. And I like that move from Jones. I think if there's one thing that I didn't realize about Jones, it's that the humanity of Jones and his ability to lead and to inspire. I didn't get that vibe. I got the college fraternity vibe when he was coming out of Alabama. And instead there's a lot more humility. There's a lot more maturity. There's a lot more fun. He's an easy guy to root for. You can see that. His teammates definitely root for him. How much of a loss is the Mikael Williams injury? How much of a loss is that, losing this player? People can look at him and say 1 sack, 20 tackles in 9 games, all that kind of stuff. The production isn't really there. But yet he played so many snaps and was such a key guy for them in so many ways. How bad is that loss for the Niners?
We're going to find out pretty quickly how bad it is based on what kind of yards per carry the next couple teams can put up against the Niners. Because there was a stretch where it appeared as if Mikael Williams had single-handedly fixed the 49ers run defense, which was always an extreme hyperbolic take, but it wasn't that far off from the truth. Like it felt like it was like, right. Like, yeah, I know there are other people doing stuff, but like that line sucked last year. Nick Bosa was on that line last year. He's a hell of a football player. And you throw in a Mikael Williams and suddenly you couldn't run on these dudes. And there were some pretty good run offenses that the Niners faced. So it's going to be big. Now, I will say that it's not going to loom as large when it comes to getting pressure because Mikael was not getting pressure. And Andrew Thomas had his way with him on Saturday. I mean,
Thomas is really coming into his own, though.
Andrew Thomas is a first-team All-Pro left tackle right now.
Yeah,
he's the best left tackle in football as it stands today. There are other guys who can get in the running here, but if we had to pick one, no one's playing better than him at that position, which is the most important position outside of quarterback, I'd argue, in the NFL. So, yeah, Andrew Thomas is a dude. You would have liked to have seen Mikael give him a rep that he won. I didn't see it, but you're also asking a 20-year-old with no bag who is dog-tired. I mean, I think Kyle said today.
He's played a ton.
Yeah, Kyle said today. I mean, that he had to rush to get back. He didn't get to build up that quote unquote callus from training camp. They played him in a bunch of different positions. It's mentally taxing. It's physically taxing. Kyle said today that he didn't think that anyone needed the bye, which comes in week 14, more than Mikael Williams. So he's got a long bye now. It's gonna loom large. Ultimately, it was an encouraging first season for Mikael, and it should be noted that he's a bit of a football nerds guy. Like the people that I talk to who are big football dorks, they all love Mikael, and maybe that's a bit of confirmation bias because they know I'm a big Mikael guy, so that's what they tell me. But like you look at the other first round draft picks on the defensive line, Shamar Stewart, no sacks, 6 tackles. Kenneth Grant has actually been okay, but nothing like special. 19 tackles, a sack and a half for the Dolphins.
Walter Nolan looked awfully damn
He looked
good tonight.
awesome. Today was his first game. He looked absolutely awesome, though. Loved Walter Nolan in the draft process. But Yeah.
That was probably the guy that I had mocked to the Niners the most often.
That's the guy they were going to take if Michael wasn't there.
That was the guy that I probably would have wanted to take. But
James Pearce, though, cost 2 first-round picks, 8 tackles, 0 sacks. 2 first-round picks for that guy. And then
Jalen Walker was the guy that I really loved as well.
Now, he's a good player.
And Jalen Walker, I think, is really where did he go? He went to Atlanta. What number? Do you remember? It was after 11. He was on the board at 11.
Yeah, it was like 18.
Yeah. I mean, Jalen Walker was the guy that I kind of liked the most, but I wasn't really sure. Was he a linebacker? Was he an end? What was he? But man, what he is just awesome.
I get. I'm not.
He was the Georgia star.
He was awesome. And again, you have to go with positional necessity first, and so defensive end is far more important than this. But man, what the Niners wouldn't give to have both
now.
Oh, because what they got going on at Sam with playing Luke Gifford and like bringing down Jair Brown, which I'm not even going to get into the safety stuff. I don't understand what the hell they're doing there. But like what they wouldn't give to have a versatile quasi defensive back, quasi linebacker, quasi defensive end, like to have that guy to run a 4-3 over, like they'd kill for that right now. But ultimately you have to go with
Did you see him this weekend?
End. I didn't watch Atlanta's game this weekend.
Oh, my God. Jalen Walker this weekend.
Well, it was obvious when he wasn't in there, and that was against the Niners. It was pretty obvious that he wasn't there because
huge break.
You watch those Atlanta games going in on tape, and you're like, fuck, he is good. He's so good so early, and Ulbrich is just having a ton of fun. And when he's in there, they get heat on the quarterback. They blitz more than anybody else, but they had more pressure than anybody else because that Swiss Army knife just he's a keystone player. He just unlocks everything, or he locks in everything. Bad analogy. You know what I mean. He's important. Skeleton key. Other stupid analogies. It wasn't in there. Suddenly they get no pressure. Comes back in. Guess what? Pressure again. And again, without James Pearce getting any pressure on anyone because 8 tackles, 0 sacks. Derek Harmon, Tyleik Williams. Harmon's been better than Williams. But those are your first-round linemen. If I had my druthers amongst all of them, you can make an argument for Nolan. A little bit of recency bias, but I love Nolan. I'd still take Michael. So I guess it can't be that bad of a year, even though it was underwhelming to most.
The Georgia kid, and people going, oh, you're talking about these Georgia guys,
what a shitty program.
2020 hindsight. No, it's not 2020 hindsight. I told you I love Jalen Walker last year. But if you want this year's version of like, okay, well, tell me who the guy I should be like this year. It's C.J. Allen for Georgia. C.J. Allen.
Me and Hutch are the biggest C.J. Allen fans.
240, and this is what he's done so far this year. I mean, just in the Tennessee game, 11 tackles.
And he's a Mike, to be fair. I would play him
Alabama 8. Kentucky had 6 tackles and a sack. Against Auburn, he had 10 tackles and a sack. Against Mississippi, he had 10 tackles, 8 solo. Against Florida last week, he had 13 tackles, 7 solo. Yeah. The guy's a really, really good player. He's an amazing athlete. Georgia gets some of these incredible athletes. This guy's from a small town called Barnesville, Georgia. He's a junior, so I don't even know if he'll even be in this draft. But if he is, I mean, you're talking about a Pro Bowl linebacker right there. That is what a Pro Bowl linebacker looks like.
It's a great
Remember that name,
draft.
C.J. Allen. C.J. Allen, number 3.
Anthony Hill, Sonny Styles, Avion Terrell. Oh, sorry, he's a corner. Sorry. No,
Anthony Hill especially.
Arvell Reese.
Yes,
Ohio State's got 2 that are just dudes. Anthony Hill's really, really good too.
He's a hell of a player too. A&M, Torian York.
Yes,
he's
very
small.
good.
He's small, but he's a damn good player.
Yeah, I get.
Who's a damn good player? It's Tatum Bethune.
Yeah, you know what?
Tatum Bethune had 16 tackles. I said when he had 10 in his debut, people were like, I told the KMBR pregame show, I'm like, man, Tatum Bethune's gonna have 10 tackles today. Tracy Sandler looks at me and she's like, she kind of knew I made a big statement, and she goes, "Are you going to guarantee it?" I said, I will guarantee it." Sure enough, he had 10. And then the post game, I was talking about it, I'm like, she's like, "Why did you guarantee it?" I'm like, because I really think 10 for a guy like this is kind of like his baseline. he's always going to have at least 10. He's going to have a game where he has like 15. And sure enough, yesterday, 16 tackles against the Giants, the most by a 49er player since Michael Wilhoit. There's a blast from the past in 2015. The Harbaugh, post Harbaugh.
That team sucked. He's a really good run filler, and he's been better side to side than I expected. There's still some real questions in pass coverage, but at least he's really good against the run, right? Like this is a backup to Fred Warner, a guy who was a 7th-round draft pick last year. If I'm going to nitpick on, his coverage is a little bit suspect, then I'm just being an asshole. Like he's very, very good. And I think I was more taken personally by Winters' performance, first drive aside. I thought he was immense in that game. And I do think that it's worth maybe taking a moment to note that D. Winters looked awesome next to Fred Warner, which I guess isn't a given the 2024 NFL season that we watched. But he looked awesome next to Fred Warner. It's clearly not just Fred Warner. He's playing at a Pro Bowl caliber, in my opinion, just Pro Bowl, which, Mac Jones, former Pro Bowler. But he's playing at a Pro Bowl caliber this season, and he's maintained that standard without Fred Warner next to him. So that's D. Winters doing the job. And it's great that they have a very viable backup in Tatum Bethune. But D. Winters, still an impact player, even without Fred Warner, I think speaks very, very highly to his skill set and the Niners' defensive potential moving forward. It's nice, with all the question marks they have on the defensive front, all the question marks they have with communication and personnel on the back end, that linebacker, which should be, I think to most outside observers, when Fred Warner goes down and you're looking at D. Winters and Tatum Bethune, that would be a big red flag for anybody else. And yet that seems to be the most solid operation they got going on defense right now.
I thought his best play was right before halftime. The Niners had that turnover on the fumble. Abdul Carter recovers it at the 27-yard line, and you're thinking, okay, it's going to be, 17-10 minimum, or it's going to be 17-14 at halftime. And what happens? The Giants, Tracy gets stuffed on first down, then Dart threw to Tracy, and he dropped it on second down. So they were quickly at 3rd and 10. And this is the play that I thought was Bethune's best play. Dart found Theo Johnson, but Tatum Bethune showed up at the ball at the time that it arrived. He got a nice little PBU. And that forced the Graham Gano 45-yard field goal, which he missed. And I thought that was a huge momentum play. And if Dart completes that pass to Theo Johnson, and without Bethune's absolute blanket coverage, he would have. That's a first down, and they are still driving, and they probably get an easy field goal, and maybe they get a touchdown. Instead, they get nothing. They have to settle for the 45-yard field goal. They miss it, and they're still down 10 at half. Bethune there, that was the kind of play he would not have made in the past, but he's picked up a little bit of speed. A couple last thoughts. Keon White played the 3rd most snaps of any of the 49ers defensive linemen. He just showed up on Wednesday, and on Sunday he's playing the 3rd most snaps. To me, this illustrates
they're doing great.
This illustrates their desperation at the trade deadline. They have to add. People are like, well, do you think they'll make a move? I would be shocked if they don't make a move, because then they're going to have, they literally will have to poach multiple players off other teams' practice squads if they don't make a trade tomorrow. So I would say the likelihood of any trade, I don't know about a big trade, but a likelihood of any trade, I would put at about 85% for tomorrow, maybe 90.
Unless you want to see Bradley King play football. That's a person, right?
Right, William Bradley King.
Unless you want to see him play football, you better hope that the Niners make a move or 5. And that's where it stands. They need to make 4 or 5 moves. They have the ammunition to make 1 or 2. And even that is stretching it from where we normally are. So, less than ideal. Not a great circumstance going on. But as it stands, it sounds like they're going to get Huff back. That's a bonus. But, Travis Gibson's still on the team. That's a positive. I don't know what's going on with CJ West. They should probably play him, but that's, neither here nor there. Gross Matos is on IR. Aquanu played very well, I thought. But they physically don't have enough dudes. It should also be noted that the 49ers just don't update their depth chart on their website. Usually don't go to their website for depth chart
I don't
news,
either.
but I clicked on it, and that's why I don't go. Holy crap. That's an embarrassment. That's really bad.
They need help up front for sure. They got to get
They
somebody.
need help on the website. Sorry.
They need help up front on their website. They really need help.
They don't even. Do they even have a defensive end? Oh yeah, Bradley King and then Farrell. So both of those guys are up. Well, Bradley King hasn't been
I'll
up.
I'll tell you right now, from being at practice last week, Chris Kasarik was yelling up a storm at McKell and Beal and Bradley King and he is trying like crazy to get these guys going. And one of the things he would keep saying for like guys like McKell and Beal especially, keep your legs moving, keep coming. Some of these young guys, it's like they try to win. If they don't win with their initial thing, they stop their legs. You got to keep your legs.
Well, it's such a collegiate thing where they play that gap and a half system. And so if you don't win off the jump, you actually are instructed in those systems with the 4-0-4 front, which so many college teams run, to stop and hold the gap. And that's not how the Niners go about their business at all. It's go. You try to win the rep until the rep is over. And that's a hard bit of muscle memory because it's a lot easier to just stop and hold the gap, which is kind of one of the reasons why they do it at the college level. So that's a really interesting note. I didn't.
Let's
I don't hang out in practice.
Let's hit some offensive line here. The Niner offensive line.
Sure.
Pressures and sacks allowed against the Giants. Colton McKivitz allowed 3 pressures and 1 sack. He was going against Brian Burns. The last 2 weeks, he's gotten Brian Burns and Will Anderson. He's just getting beat. He's just getting beat, and there's no ambiguity about it.
That shouldn't be an issue at all against the Rams.
Right. Then you got Dom Pooney, who was beat for 1 pressure. Burford was beaten for a pressure and gave up a sack to Nunez.
Yeah,
Roches.
that was a very clear communication issue between him and Hennessy. It's not to exonerate him, but he got beat. I think that he was late in getting hands on Nunez Roches because he thought that they were sliding in a direction and Hennessy didn't slide in that direction. So it's kind of a silent count issue. But yeah, it was a really bad rep. Otherwise, he was really good.
He beat him inside for a sack. I thought there was another play that I saw him get beat on, but they did run effectively behind Burford.
Left side was awesome. Yeah.
And and then Hennessy and Williams did not allow a pressure and obviously not a sack. I was looking at the Hennessy numbers against the Giants. 29 pass block opportunities, 0 sacks allowed, 0 pressures allowed, 0 quarterback hits allowed, 100 pass block efficiency. I didn't have his run block efficiency right there, but
he got out.
What did you think? What did you think of the Niner offensive line? Are they better with Burford at left guard? Are they better with Hennessy? Shanahan did say today it wasn't a threat, but he did say that Jake Brendel has a chance to return this week against the Rams. So what do you think? I mean, what, in your opinion, I'll just ask it this way. In your opinion, what is the 49ers' best line left to right?
Given the current evidence, the best line left to right is Williams, Burford, Brendel, Pooney, and McKivitz. But I would not be opposed to throwing Barch back in there if he is, in fact, 100%. And just trying that out, giving it one last go. I don't think Burford played to some level where you couldn't possibly replace him. Plus, you're still supposed to be converting him to tackle, and maybe there's just, if Barch isn't playing and starting, then what is the point of having a Ben Barch? So, whereas with Burford, you can use him as a swing at multiple positions, say for center. So, I haven't gotten into the offensive line tape on the Giants game. On first watch, I thought that Hennessy was fine, but I also thought that against Houston, and watched it back, and it was horrific, just abysmal. So interested to see if that holds again on tomorrow morning's watch. But I just haven't been impressed by him at all. I feel like everyone's zeal to replace Brendel has clouded the judgment towards Hennessy, and it can actually get worse, is what I've seen so far. And if y'all want to replace Brendel, that's fair game because Brendel hadn't exactly proven himself to be irreplaceable. But Matt Hennessy ain't the option. That is not the replacement. Just because he's different doesn't mean he's better. So, yeah, I do think putting Brendel back in there would be advantageous for the Niners because at least they'd get the communication right. And I saw at least a couple of times where the communication didn't seem to be right.
49ers averaged 8 yards per carry running into the B gap next to Burford yesterday.
Well, and Trent was clearing dudes out. I mean, Trent looked really good. I would also say that Pooney had a really strong game. And I think that maybe the biggest takeaway I had, and it's probably unfair to the Niners offensive line and it takes something off of them, but Dexter Lawrence is quiet quitting. And maybe that's the guy that the Niners should just throw a future seventh at and see if they can snag him. I know he's expensive and I know it would never happen, but that's a player who does not want to be there anymore is what I see. Either that or he's completely washed, and I'd be willing to throw a couple shekels to find out the answer to that firsthand.
Are we going to see Brandon Aiyuk this year? Shanahan said today the 49ers will not be opening Aiyuk's practice window this week. Shanahan told us a few weeks ago, yeah, it could be next week. He could be, we could open the practice window next week. And then he kind of told us 3 days later, well, I was just saying that. What I meant to say is that it's kind of week to week at this point. But week to week that they could open his practice window doesn't mean that he's going to be back. I said Thanksgiving. I'm starting to think that I thought it was a conservative estimate at the time when I said it.
Yeah, I was with you.
And now it seems like it might be it might not be till if you actually asked me to pick a date right now, I'd probably pick something like December 8th or something like that. It definitely wouldn't be November. It would definitely be a December prediction if I was predicting today.
Well, they're off the first week of December. So I would say December 14th against the Tennessee Titans would be the conservative estimate now. I mean, or maybe that's the aggressive one because no, I think that all signs point to him not playing. And you hope that you're positively surprised. I'd also say that Ricky Pearsall's knee injury doesn't seem to be getting any better. He had a bandage in the immediate aftermath of it, which signaled to me that it had been drained in some way. I've been around enough NBA locker rooms to know how you drain a knee and have seen it done. And that's exactly where you'd put that bandage if you were to drain a knee. So I don't get the impression that Ricky Pearsall's anywhere close and that PCL injury, which don't forget, shut down Christian McCaffrey last year. Everyone's going to point to all the other things that could have taken out Christian McCaffrey. What actually took him out was him slamming his knee against the ground in Buffalo, or I guess in Orchard Park, and a very similar injury, albeit in completely different weather conditions, to what Ricky Pearsall sustained. And yes, I would say that they were probably a bit quicker to shut Christian McCaffrey down than they would be for Ricky Pearsall, but he's already missed more time from this injury than he did for getting shot. So clearly something is afoul in that knee, and I'm not going to bank on him coming back and be happily surprised if he does, because the fact that it's dragged on this long is a massive red flag. I mean, he's not even on the practice field. I don't even see him in the locker room. Like he is, you're innocent until proven guilty in this world. He is injured until proven healthy is the standard for Ricky Pearsall now.
Wow. I mean, it's unbelievable, really.
It's a terrible break. And by the way, we don't go back on it, but like an absolutely abysmal throw from Brock setting that situation up where Brock is back there tap dancing for no good reason, delivers the ball late. Pearsall's diving out because it was a close game and a catch that he had to make, diving out to make the play, and he comes down hard on his knee on the sideline, which is a different cut of grass in a different circumstance, and hasn't played football since. And yeah, it wouldn't shock me at all if the injury as it stands, because again, they say it's a PCL sprain. Well, sprain is a tear. All sprains are tears. It's just a level of degree. That plus, my observation, my guess from that observation, a fluid buildup, which is terribly likely, or not at all uncommon with a PCL injury. Yeah, that it just doesn't sound like Ricky Pearsall is somebody you can count on moving forward. So don't trade Jauan Jennings.
Well, I mean, it just kind of shows. I mean, the Pearsall thing, it's like we talked about it on the day he was drafted. It's all about durability, and he hasn't been durable. Highest graded 49ers on defense, highest graded 49ers on offense in this game. On offense, Sky Moore, number one. Brian Robinson, Dom Pooney, Jordan Watkins, Colton McKivitz, Luke Farrell. I thought Farrell had a really good game on special teams.
He had a good game as a blocker, too.
I thought Sky Moore, really had a pretty good game outside of the terrible disaster, punt return.
Yeah, other than him not doing his job effectively.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, massively
he had one nice catch.
Right. But I mean, Brian Robinson looked good.
Yes,
I'm glad to see Pooney and McKivitz on this list. I thought Jordan Watkins looked good. I think he is good. And then defensively, the highest graded Niners, Renardo Green, I thought played great. He was
Green's
fantastic.
coming into his own. You let Renardo Green play man to man, and you will reap the benefits.
He's a hell of a player. And then Malik Mustafa got the second best grade. Jair Brown got the third best grade. Then Robert Beal, Kevin Givens, Tatum Bethune.
And this is from Pro Football Focus.
This is PFF, yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason I canceled my subscription.
Who do you strongly disagree with there? I mean, the Niner tackling at safety? It seems like Jair had a number of big hits, and I thought
big whiffs too.
He had some whiffs, but he also was like the only guy a couple times coming up and really starching people. Mustafa looks rusty to me.
Yep.
I'm a little surprised that Marquise Siegel has been so kind of buried, because I think he's probably a better coverage guy than Jair, but he's not playing. He didn't play at all. No snaps in this game.
I have no idea what they're doing there.
Yeah, Mustafa and Brown, is that the best tandem they have?
No, it's not the best tandem now, and it won't be the best tandem moving forward. I don't understand what it is they're doing, because Brown makes critical mistakes constantly. He makes rookie-level mistakes. And Marquise Siegel was by no means perfect. And yes, a lot of people will point out, we kept getting passes, but he was in position. He just doesn't play the ball well. That's something you can build up to. It's not ideal that you're having to build up to it, but you can play up. Jair Brown's nowhere to be found on certain plays that he's supposed to be covering that guy. And when he is to be found, he's getting dunked on too. And I thought Marquise Siegel did a really good job, all 22, game film, whatever you want to call it, in sticking into gaps, and he made a game-winning play against the Rams. He was really good at delivering hits and coming down in the box and laying some wood. So the idea that Jair Brown gets more deference to make rookie mistakes than the actual rookie, and they do, in effect, the same thing, and that's being generous to Jair Brown on the field, it's just ridiculous to me, and I don't understand what Robert Saleh is frankly doing with it. It seems to me, and this is not just a Marquise Siegel thing, it seems to me as if he's lost his patience for rookies. And, CJ West is in the box for the game against the Giants. What's that about? You have to play.
Well, if he's been inactive the last 2 weeks.
But he's healthy enough to play. He played on the broken hand. He was actually okay with the broken hand against Atlanta. And now they're saying go up to the press box and watch. So that doesn't make sense to me. It feels as if Robert Saleh forgot what he told everybody before the season started, which is, hey, this is going to be a bumpy ride. And there's a lot of rookies, and we're going to take our lumps with them, but we'll be better for it in the long run. And they go to, they get 5-6 wins under their belt, and it's playoffs, and, they're in the playoff picture. They've been in the playoff picture every week of the season. And it feels like Robert Saleh is panicking a little bit that he's got so many young guys out there now that Fred Warner's not out there. And that's the time that you got to double down. That's the time you got to truly believe in it. And it kind of feels like he was selling us a bunch of bullshit at the beginning of the season. It feels like he's lost his patience for young guys. And that's the last thing I'd want to lose when and this is my opinion, that the Super Bowl is an outrageous possibility. It's not happening. So you really are building for 26 and trying to make the most of this year as to build momentum for next year. And I want to see what these young guys have, and I want to see them take their lumps and learn the NFL game. I don't need to see Jair Brown anymore. I know what Jair Brown is. It's not good enough. And maybe Marquise Siegel isn't good enough, but I don't think we have enough of a sample size to make that definitive statement. But I guess Robert Saleh already has, which to me feels like an incredible wasted opportunity for the rest of the season moving forward. Commit to the young guys. They might just surprise you.
CJ West, I thought would play more.
It's
Siegel,
weird.
I thought would play more. And I thought Nick Martin would play more. And
They don't even play Nick Martin. Like
I asked
you and
Robert
I have
Saleh about Nick Martin. And here's what we'll play this here because
Robert, are you just satisfied at all with?
Let me see. Let me make this a little bigger. You guys can all see this. Here's the question. And I thought, he gave me a long answer. We'll evaluate it here. Here we go.
Robert, are you just satisfied at all with Nick Martin? I mean, he's your guy's 3rd round pick. He's a rookie, but he's not getting on the field over guys like Gifford and Robinson. Is there some dissatisfaction with him, or is there something he's not doing?
No, there's no dissatisfaction. He's there is a bit of a learning curve in terms of where he's come from college to what we're asking him to do, and I think he's done a really nice job. He's got to earn it on special teams with D. Winters being the starter. Like Giff is a big time special teams guy. Curtis Robinson's a big time special teams guy. Now you've got Tatum and you've got D, who are both starters. So for him, he has had to make his way, and then obviously Fred was there before Fred's injury. It's hard to justify if you're not the starter and you're not owning special teams. Those guys are always going to get first dibs, and Giff, not to speak for Brant, but he's been one of our top special teams guys. So you got to find a role and you got to make it work with who the active guys are. Now that he's got a chance to be active, he had his first run on special teams. Thought he did a really nice job, and he's going to get another run at it. But unless D gets hurt, God forbid that happens, because D's having a hell of a season, he's going to have to make his way on special teams this year. And if something happens to him, then he'll step in, and we'll see how it goes.
Give me your evaluation of that.
There's two statements that are just complete horseshit. One, I agree. Yeah, you have to. Special teams is going to get priority, and if you can't play special teams, then you're not going to have. You can't be a backup. We have to choose backups based on who can play special teams. That makes all the sense in the world. You only get so many guys up. Well, and I do. He goes, "Oh, I thought he did a good job." Well, then why isn't he the special team? He didn't do a good job is the answer. They put him at point of attack on a couple of plays. He was directly responsible for 2 of the biggest special teams plays the Niners have given up all year, save for the Parker Washington touchdown. He was abysmal on special teams. That's why he wasn't playing special teams, and that's why they put him in there for a week, and then they stopped putting him in there. So the idea that he did well on special teams because he had one nice little play doesn't make up for the fact that he was awful on the other plays, and that was actually how it ruined. The other aspect of this is him talking about Gifford. Okay, yeah, Gifford is their Sam linebacker. Gifford is the guy who'd be special teams. Okay, I don't actually have any issue. Gifford's no good from scrimmage, but I have no issue with Nick Martin not playing over Gifford because in a 4-3 over, you need to be able to set an edge, and Nick Martin's not that kind of a player. Never has been, never will be. That's not a knock on him. That's a body shape, body play type, all that. Gifford's somebody who doesn't do it, but in theory is more built for it. But if he's going to get his shot, he's going to get a chance if D goes down. Then why'd Curtis Robinson play when D. Winters went down last week? Why were you playing Curtis Robinson then? And why was it? Oh, well, Curtis Robinson's actually ahead of him on the depth chart. I'm not a big Nick Martin fan. You and I have argued about that Nick Martin pick repeatedly. But this is malpractice at this point to be playing Curtis Robinson over him as a backup. Let the kid get some run. Because I'll tell you this, for all the negatives that I can give you about Nick Martin and how it was a waste of pick 75 and all that, I can say this. When he plays, he's got some juice. And sometimes that juice spills all over your shirt and you look like a jerk. But sometimes it actually provides some pop and excitement and energy to a defense. He plays hard. He plays fast, sometimes to his detriment. Actually, a lot of times to his detriment. But that's something that, I don't know, maybe this defense could use a little bit of here. Because I just saw that team last week that it worked because the Giants are an abject disaster and Brian Daboll hasn't evolved anything in that offense. I saw a team that dropped 7 and rushed 4 again and again and again and again. And if you want to get some pressure going, I don't know, maybe a dude who actually looks like he can get from point A to point B in a short period of time, playing as weak side linebacker, again, if D. Winters is out, or playing him as a Sam linebacker, just a gadget player, maybe having that guy on the field would be of benefit to the 49ers, but they just don't seem to like him. And Okay, that's fine if you had inherited him, but Robert Saleh is the guy who was pounding the table for him. So not a very good draft evaluation by Robert Saleh is what I'm reading in. And now you're getting a bunch of hogwash as to why he's not playing. Well, he did well on special teams. Well, not really, actually. Pretty clearly not, because Brant Boyer's refusing to play him from here on out. And then, if D. Winters ever went down, we put him in. Well, both him and Curtis Robinson were active, and they chose Curtis Robinson over him. And Kyle Shanahan said that's how the depth chart shook out. So Bob might have some dissatisfaction is kind of what I'm getting at here.
It's going to be interesting. I think that kid can play, and I think it's going to show eventually, but we'll see. I'll stay with my evaluation that he can play.
I don't think he can, but I'd like to see him try. That's
I think he can. I think he can. We'll see. We got this one too. What do you think of this? Should the 49ers have interest here? Ian Rappaport says Asante Samuel, who had spinal fusion on his surgery this offseason, was fully cleared to return to the NFL by Dr. David Okonkwo and Nick Theodore in a letter to the agent Trevon Smith presented to NFL teams. So he's a free agent and a corner with experience in a passing league. There was some talk earlier this year about the Niners having interest in Asante Samuel. What do you think? Would you be interested?
Take the Jason Verrett Memorial guy who comes in for a game, gets injured, and then leaves spot. I guess this team needs it. Listen, I feel bad for Asante Samuel, who's a really good player. The term spinal fusion does not inspire confidence. Tiger Woods could barely play golf after all of his spinal fusion. I don't really want that guy on a football field. I don't want to be thinking about that. There is some level of cognitive dissonance that we have to engage in to watch football. I don't think I can get over the hump of that guy had spinal fusion surgery, but there he is out there trying to make a tackle. No, I'm okay. I'm willing to roll the dice with what the Niners have, because the weak point in their 3-man cornerback unit right now is the highest paid guy who wears the C. If Diamador Lenore wants to decide to show up for this season, the Niners could actually have a pretty interesting cornerback thing, because I think Stout has come a long way since the start of the season, and you and I are both very high on where Green is right now, particularly in this scheme, which is a little bit more man-to-man on the outside as of late. And, I'm so disappointed in Lenore, but, I don't think Asante Samuel moves the needle for me.
Let's hit our supers and then we'll bolt for the door. We got this one, Habbas Law, 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. Thanks to Omar and Tara Habbas for sponsoring the Krug Show. Life is all about having the right lawyer. And if you're in a tough corner and you need someone the insurance companies hope you never hire, give Habbas Law a call. They will fight to make it right. Their website is habbaslaw.com, HABBAS law.com, 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. Thanks to Habbas Law for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, let's hit the supers, and we'll go through them quick here. We got this one from Cass, new member. Welcome aboard, Cass. JH is in the house. Just says, hey, $4.99. Thank you, JH. Harry Johnson has been a member for 1 month. If the Niners pull off a trade, the shirt comes off, Dieter. Let's go.
From Harry Johnson to Harry Chest. No.
That's kind of creepy. Brady Coker. Larry, I'm looking into scouting. Would you recommend it these days? And what advice would you give? If you haven't played or coached football, I probably would not recommend it. It's a very isolated life. You're on the road a lot, but it's also, if it's in your blood, it's in your blood. So if I were you, Brady, what I would do is I would go. There's lots of NFL scouts and CFL scouts, and there's lots of personnel evaluators now in the college game. There's lots of people out there doing it. I would do 2 or 3 informational interviews and just talk to them about the process and the life, and see if it's something that jives with what you're looking for. And if it is, what I would do is put together a resume and send it to every team in the NFL expressing your interest, and then just keep following up, keep knocking on the door until one of them pops open for you. That's generally the route to go. But, you're going to have to be right 90 to 95% of the time. You're going to be on the road 35 weeks a year. It's hard to maintain relationships with your children, your girlfriend, your wife, especially if you have both. It's very complicated. James
both
A.
being your girlfriend and your wife. Yeah, don't. That said, you will have more time to visit your second family.
Right, exactly. You'll have more time on the road to have your second family travel with you. James A. says sauna Dieter was too much. There you go.
Just
Brady
rent 'em out.
says shoot us straight. Will we make a big trade tomorrow? I said they will make a trade. It won't be big. I'm going to predict Arden Key and Sam Womack. Dieter, what would be your prediction?
Arden Key. If Arden Key doesn't come, at this point, I've already got the jerseys made. I mean, we're, yeah. By the way, it's not size in the eye of the beholder. Sometimes they like it smaller. I'm just saying.
JM says, here's $9.99. Krug, I met your boy, Kevin, at my work on Saturday. I don't think he was used to being recognized in public. Appreciate you guys for the content. Go Niners. Oh, yeah. That is, I'm sure Kevin's not used to being recognized, but he's getting used to it. Tanner says, Tanner has become a YouTube member. Welcome aboard, Tanner.
Nice. And
then Tanner's got this one. It says, Niners' top 3 picks largely have been bad historically, except for the rental. I'd offload any of those picks for a proven player under contract. No, I hear you. That's what Les Snead did. He was like, hey, you know what? I'm tired of picking one good, one bad, one good, one bad. We're going to just trade our picks, and it's worked for them. So, what can you say?
Until it didn't.
Let's see. We got that one. There it is. Okay, here we go. SRT says the best way to gut your roster is to miss on a ton of early draft picks and hand out horrible contracts. How many teams would kill to be 6-3 this season? # make a move. Yeah, seriously. Anthony Catania is one of our sponsors. Check out Sharp Corners, Sports Cards, and Collectibles. They are at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, on the Monterey Peninsula. Anthony's there at 831-521-5264. He sells sports collectibles. They're a great Christmas gift. And this year, everybody from the Krug Show who orders anything from Anthony Catania between now and the end of the year, Anthony will pay the shipping. That's right. Free shipping to anywhere, courtesy of Sharp Corner, Sports Cards, and Collectibles. Oh, and Anthony says it's been 30 freaking years since the last Super Bowl win. The time is now. Enough of next year talk. The time is now. All right.
If the time is now, they are in deep trouble.
Well, there's no time like the present, as they say.
Sure. Except for later when you have to worry about your jobs.
Sells surprised face. Larry, I just want to hear you say "Go Dodgers." Oh God.
Hey, he got you.
You just heard me. Harry Johnson, would our old buddy Adam Peters give us a deal on somebody? Who do you want? You want Debo back?
Kinlaw.
Yeah, Kinlaw and Debo. Could you imagine?
Just do it. Why
I
not?
mean, I'd do it just to see the look on Grant's face as Kinlaw came back in the room.
Oh,
Harry
what
Johnson.
a gem he is.
Ernberg says, making any trade would be foolish. Focus on 2026. All right, there you go.
And then next year we'll focus on 27. And then the next year we'll focus on 20. Listen, I don't necessarily agree with it's all about 26 and the Machiavellian approach to it. I do feel like at some point you have to do it, but you cannot trade your top 3 draft picks. You just can't do it. I know that they suck at it, but you can't do it. Because if they suck at it to the point where they're like, oh, we don't need draft picks anymore, that's cool. They're basically admitting they have no purpose because they're not allowed to sign free agents anymore. You
could trade a day 2 pick, one of them, but you better get a player that you're going to have on your team and that you know is going to perform. But those are generally foundation piece picks, and they're not typically traded. And I definitely would not trade the one. Silent says, based on track record since 2017, trade the draft picks.
Again, I mean, there's also a point of self-preservation here. I mean, at what point is John Lynch admitting that he shouldn't be doing his job? If he trades these picks, he's admitting that he shouldn't have his job. So that's cool. I mean, he's probably right, and he should probably trade the picks. But someone else will get to make whatever picks remain. That's what would be happening here.
Whether it's John making the picks or Gutekunst making the picks or Eric DeCosta making the picks, picks have a failure rate.
Yeah.
Stars do not. Once you have a guy who's an established start, they're not going to fail.
That's not true. Stars have a failure rate all the time. It's
Go
called
ahead.
playing in the NFL.
But I
Maybe
mean, if you're to me, if
deals
you
don't
trade,
necessarily work out.
if you trade a star for a pick, I mean, the Deshaun Watson thing, if the star has an injury or some kind of an arrest that keeps him off the field, but generally the star is the bird in hand and the pick is two in the bush. And then it's just a matter of which do you prefer? Most people would say take the bird in hand over 2 in the bush.
100%. Except the problem is the bird in the hand is very heavy because it costs a lot of money.
Yeah,
And the one in the bush is cheap. And the Niners have already spent their money.
Hey, man, if it was me, anybody who knows me knows that if it was my team, if I was running an NFL team, I would get 12 picks in the 7th round every year and get a bunch of bites of the apple and take my chance on volume, because at the end of the day, they're all people anyway. And it's not like there's a special person. You know, there are guys that are big and fast and strong and whatnot, and they go in the later rounds. And then, you know, you can miss in any round. So, and you can hit in any round. Brock Purdy's proof of that. So I would definitely want more picks. And I would not like this idea that we need to add 8 players. We want 8 picks. That does not take into account the failure rate.
No, the
if you
good
need to
teams
hit
get
on
50%.
8 picks, you need to make 12 picks.
I mean, 16 really, but
yeah, I mean, exactly. So why be afraid of trading back and making more picks when it's really just more bites of the apple, and they're all lottery picks, and who knows?
Well, because there is a certifiably true statement that the earlier the pick, the higher likelihood of success.
Sure.
So I get going back and getting a bunch of bites of the apple. I'm with you on that. First off, everyone's trying to do that.
I mean,
right?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Analytics say do that. The analytics say no one knows what they're doing, so get as many bites of the apple as possible. So at a certain point, now you have everybody trying to do the same thing. You should probably go the other way. It's a great opportunity to buy picks and get more picks and get up earlier, because everyone has a crisis of confidence about their ability to pick. Whereas if you're picking in the 3rd round, your chance of getting a guy who can be a Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber player is, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's significantly less. There's like 2 a year, maybe, out of the 3rd round. Whereas typically there are between 5 and 10 in the 1st round every year. There's a reason they go earlier. And you want as many bites of the apple as early as possible. That's what you really want.
Yes and no. I mean, yes, I agree with you. Of course, that it's obvious. I mean, right, the 1st round's better than the 2nd. The 2nd's better than the 3rd. The 3rd's better than the 4th. Just by logic,
ability to.
But give you an example. You got to have an eyeball for this stuff. I really loved RJ Harvey. If you follow me and you followed my draft stuff, you know that I mocked Kyle Monange to the Niners 20 times. Loved him on day 3 of the draft. Right. What did the Niners do on day 3 of the draft? They went with the guy who didn't run fast from Oregon, who hasn't done anything and had a broken finger, and he hasn't gotten on the field for 2.5 months because of a fucking broken finger. I said Kyle Monange, he had 150 yards yesterday for the Bears. Who's better, Kyle Monange or Jordan James? Well, today, Kyle Monange.
No,
maybe eventually Jordan James.
No, it will always be Kyle Monange. It will always be him.
Well, I mean, I'm a big Kyle Monange fan, but
I was moderate on him.
Rounder. He's a 7th round pick.
I have tried to sell James. I don't actually. I've never once believed in James. I thought it was a bad pick in the moment. There's plenty of evidence to that. Yeah. I will say that there, some of the traits that he shows, I get. But yeah, Monange was clearly the better prospect. I didn't have James as a 7th round pick. I thought James was an undrafted player.
He went in the 5th.
Yeah. And there were a lot of really good backs available. That was a good running back draft.
Yes. This was the draft to get multiple backs. And they got Jordan James, Corey Kiner. I thought Kiner outplayed James, and they cut Kiner and went with James.
I don't even know where Kiner is.
Field yet. He's on Minnesota's practice squad.
Well, Minnesota, say what you will, they do pretty well. They're a pretty good operation over there.
SRT says, what's the difference between Cowing 4th round and Nayer undrafted? Both have done nothing. Y'all overvaluing picks for a team that sucks at drafting. # make a move. I mean, it's easy. I totally get that too. The mindset of like the fan where It's like your eyes glaze over when you're thinking of all these mid-round guys. But
It's a money issue.
Yeah, you can't go. You can't keep you. It's a depth. Football's about depth, and you gotta hit, in the late rounds. You gotta hit after the draft. You can't just accelerate all your assets into one. It's not like the KD thing. In basketball, you get one KD, you're rocking, and in football, even if you had one KD, you still wouldn't be rocking. You need to have depth.
And let's use a basketball analogy here that shows why you shouldn't constantly push all your chips to the middle of the table, because you can be wrong. You could be wrong about the player you get. Oh, Trey Hendrickson comes. Oh, Trey Hendrickson blows out his knee because that's par for the course for the Niners. Well, now what do you have? Now you have an expensive paperweight of a player who you mortgage your future for. You can't. It's
like a double loss.
It's a double loss. And again, 281 against the book next year, 311 the year after that. They don't have any money to spend. They need cheap, effective labor. I understand that right now it feels like this team really needs it, because they do, impact players, because all of their impact players seem to be injured. I get it. You want to replace that. You see opportunities to replace that. You say give up that future cheap labor for that. Yes, that is prisoner of the moment thinking, though. This team needs another draft or two to build up the kind of foundation that can reasonably hold up those star players that are already under contract and will remain under contract, that are supposedly the core of the next Super Bowl team. You need to have that bolstering, that foundation around them with high-quality players and a good second unit behind it. They're not even close to that right now. So giving up all of these draft picks, which is the only way they can get it, because you can't buy depth. You can't do it. You just simply cannot. It's too expensive.
Look at where the Niners have gone. It wasn't that long ago that the Niners had two full starting caliber defensive lines, and then still a couple guys after that were pretty damn good.
That's right.
And now they're signing Cleve Farrell and Keon White, and they're playing the most snaps of anybody and making the biggest impact of anybody. They are naked on the defensive line. They don't need one guy. They need a trade for like 7 guys. They need to poach 2 guys off practice squads and have them hit. They need to make a trade for some under-the-radar defensive ends and have them hit. They need to go volume over individual over star for sure.
And again, they've already used up all of the trade assets that you could reasonably give up without truly messing up your draft.
It's possible that Jed told him no more.
Well, Jed told them no more when it came to spending money. So
he might have told them no more as far as trading draft picks.
Yeah, well, because you know why? Those are cheap labor for Jed York, who's not spending any more money.
Sell's surprise face says, Larry, you should know by now that Kyle will run his running backs into the ground before splitting snaps. LOL. Oh, I know it. I can't watch it anymore. Nate says maybe they could trade a Pagini. There you go.
I don't know what that is.
It's a sports car. I was talking earlier today about how you don't go off-roading in your Italian sports car.
From experience, of course.
Well, I'm just saying, it's like you've got Christian McCaffrey. Stop running him into the ground of these. The worst carries that you could
Wear your Jordans.
The worst carry you can have in a football game is when your team's up 10 and you're trying to run out the clock in the last 5 minutes, because if you went to Kyle Shanahan and said, Kyle, in the last 5 minutes, your guys averaged 1.7 yards per carry. Are you concerned about that? He'd be like, no, we know at the end of games, everybody knows that we're trying to run out the clock. So everybody's going to put extra guys in the box and take away the run. So yes, which is why you don't take your sports car running back who's got super value, who's got unbelievable. Everybody would claim that he's indispensable. That's why you don't run your indispensable running back in the fourth quarter up 10. You just don't run anybody but him. And they just don't get it. And it's like, you're not going to be able to have it both. You're not going to be able to finish games down the stretch with McCaffrey every Sunday and then have him fresh as a daisy for some big load playoff run and Super Bowl run. It's not going to happen. So I would say, since you want him for the playoffs, finish with another back. Take those 30 carries between now and the end of the year where your running back's going to get crushed, and let a running back not named McCaffrey get crushed. It's not that complicated. This one, Harry Johnson, best between
Beef between Demo
beef
and
between
Ray Ray McCloud.
Demo and Ray Ray. He was well liked here. You know, the defensive guys and offensive guys have rivalries. Ray Ray was well liked. I never saw those guys go at each other personally, like in the locker room. Their lockers were not necessarily next to one another. Ray Ray's kind of a low-key, chill guy. Demo's kind of a fun-loving guy, but he's super competitive and fiery. If there's beef there, it might be about something that nobody knows anything about.
They were on Twitter being idiots.
Talking big. Stefan said there's 0 Rams fans outside the internet. That's pretty funny.
I mean, I'll say this. I don't actually believe that to be true. There's actually a lot more Rams fans than people let on. It's just not nearly. They're new. They're still relatively new. It's just not nearly.
And old.
Yeah.
They're new and old. There's new ones and old ones. But yeah,
I mean, I guess there's still some in Anaheim who are waiting the return. But yeah,
I mean, I guarantee you. I mean, if you put Rams fans, Niners fans, Chargers fans, and Raiders fans all on different corners in downtown LA, I bet you they would all have roughly the same amount of people on their corner.
I think the Raiders would actually have the most.
Well, the Raiders would have more because they'd have police at their corner. Policing.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I think there would be a bunch of people who drove up from San Diego and say they're still Chargers fans. I remember going to those Chargers games where they played at the LA Galaxy's MLS stadium. It was incredible.
Oh, in Carson.
Yeah.
Great job. Says one day we'll be free from Brendel forever. We got to get away from the old, undersized, and undrafted guy and go with somebody like Hennessy or better. Such a weak standard for center. Can do better. Yeah, I think people are tired of Brendel pretty much.
Y'all are going to be so tired of Brendel, and then you're going to be 1 year from now. You're going to be begging for Brendel. Promise you.
Now you're sounding like a Lombardi tweet right now.
No, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. I don't think Brendel's any good. It is dire circumstances out there at the center.
Should have gone with Nick Frazier or Zach Frazier. 84 Joe Hawk says, I missed everything. Please tell me we get Hendrickson and win the Super Bowl. Thanks, guys.
Who's sounding like a Lombardi stream?
The Niners have the second best odds to get Hendrickson. That is the factual thing I can share with you. Leon Mazza says $1.99. Hey, I'm Leon Mazza. Thank you, Leon.
Good job.
Thanks to Pig and a Pickle. Thanks to Sleeper. Thanks to Habbas Law. Thanks to Dieter. Thanks to all of you. Dieter, I'll give you the final word. Tomorrow is the deadline, the official trade deadline in the NFL. Everybody's got their own thought on the thing. As I said, if it was just about what I want, I would trade a decent draft choice for a Quinnen Williams or a Tavondre Sweat and try to get that big defensive tackle that I think this line doesn't have, especially not rooted, not going to be here long term. So that's what I'd like to see them do, is go for Quinnen Williams or Tavondre Sweat. And then throw in a defensive end like a Michael Clemens. I think Clemens would be the guy that I would try to get as far as on the cheap that I think could do a great job. And then I want a running back to, finish out the games. So that's what I'm looking for. If I had to make a prediction, though, I'll stay with what I said. Arden Key, Samuel Womack. That sounds so Niners. Once you've been a Niner, it's like, oh, my God. It's like they'll bring you back. Both those guys have been Niners. I could see them bringing those guys back at a very cheap cost. So that's what I want, and that's what I would envision. What do you want? What do you envision?
Well, I want about 5 or 6 players that can competently help an NFL team, and I envision not that. I think tomorrow's trade deadline is going to be a big fat dud, not just for the Niners, but for everybody, because there are too many buyers, not enough sellers, and these sellers all got a little bit high on their own supply from what I can tell. So I think that business is effectively closed. I think that if you didn't make a move today, don't expect moves tomorrow, and that's for the Niners and everybody else.
2 last ones here. Great job. Says huge disagreement, Dieter. Move on to the next center, or you're not serious about a Super Bowl, plain and simple. So
well,
he's
that's the standard. Yeah,
we
all know Super Bowls are won by centers. Listen, No one's going to extol the virtues of centers more than me. But y'all don't watch enough fucking football. You're not watching centers. You're not watching centers.
I'd rather have Frazier from Pittsburgh. Stefan says Brendel has something on Shanahan and Dieter.
And you guys just aren't paying
we
attention.
we don't see what you see.
I'm
Do you
telling you.
remember that song? Do you see what I see?
Yeah, Christmas is coming, baby.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Dieter's got, his own YouTube channel. He's working on KMBR. He's writing. He's everywhere.
Yeah.
Promote what you got cooking this week, Dieter. You're going to be on the radio a couple nights, right? You got anything coming up in the newspaper we should check out? What are you working on these days?
I write a column every day, Larry. San Jose Mercury News. You can read a newspaper if you want. You can check out the Dieter and Hutch podcast if you want. And you can listen to KMBR on Thursday and Friday at 7 o'clock if you want. Or don't.
There you go. Do it or don't. But he will be on Thursday and Friday on KMBR. For Dieter, I'm Larry. Thanks to everybody. Have a great night. I'm back streaming tomorrow on trade deadline day. We'll see if it's disappointing. See you then.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of.